Hey everyone, when you fail, the first thing that often crumbles is not your plan, not your effort. It's your belief in yourself. But failure doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it reveals the exact opposite. It exposes your strength in the rawest form, because only those who dare to try, who dare to leap, even at the risk of falling, will ever taste growth. Strength isn't measured by how perfectly you execute your plan, but how powerfully you respond when that plan breaks down. You don't know what you're truly made of until life knocks you flat and you're left staring at the ceiling of defeat. That's when your inner strength starts speaking, not through noise, not through applause, but through your refusal to stay where you've fallen. Everyone loves to show off their victories, but no one posts the battle scars. Strength is not built in the spotlight, it's formed in silence, through tears nobody sees and decisions no one understands. Strength shows itself when you wake up the day after failure and still choose to move forward when it would be easier to quit. The world may call it stubbornness, but deep down you know it's resilience. When you get up after being knocked down, even when you don't see results yet, even when no one believes in you anymore, that is the purest kind of strength. You begin to learn that it's not talent that makes you unbreakable, it's character. Failure rips away the external noise. It strips down your excuses, your distractions, and your masks. It leaves you with one question, what now? And your answer to that becomes the foundation of your next version. This isn't about proving anything to the world. It's about proving to yourself that you can rise with bruises, you can lead with scars, and you can stand tall without applause. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's lonely, but it's always there if you listen. When you fall and everything feels broken, your real test begins, not in front of an audience, not on a stage, but in those moments when you feel invisible, when no one is watching. That's where strength is exposed, not manufactured, not borrowed, exposed. Failure doesn't break strong people, it identifies them. It doesn't end the story, it sharpens the lead for the next chapter. That's why it's not the fall that defines you. It's your choice to get back up. Over and over, stronger, smarter, louder inside, hungrier, unshaken by judgment, because the moment you fail, the mask drops and the truth steps forward. You learn who you are beneath all the pressure, and you discover the power that only comes from standing alone and choosing to fight. The world doesn't wait. It keeps spinning, moving, progressing, no matter what you're going through. When you fail, it doesn't pause to give you space. It doesn't lower the volume so you can think. And it certainly doesn't offer you a second chance on a silver platter. The world is relentless, and that's not cruelty, that's reality. It will test you with its indifference. You could be shattered inside, trying to breathe through the dust of your broken dreams, but the world keeps going as if nothing happened. While you're dealing with failure, others are competing, advancing, succeeding. You're either on your feet moving forward, or left behind in silence. This may sound harsh, but it's the ultimate filter. It separates those who want it from those who mean it, because when the world keeps moving after you've fallen, the message is clear. You either catch up or you're out. You'll realize quickly that comfort zones don't exist in this game. No one's coming to slow things down for you. You could scream, cry, curse, break down, and the world will carry on unfazed. That's not unfair, that's training. The ones who rise understand that time won't wait for their motivation to return. They get up whether they feel ready or not, because they know missing the moment could cost them everything they've worked for. There's no intermission between failure and life's next punch. It comes quick, and often it hits harder than the first. But if you listen closely, in the silence after a loss, you'll hear the footsteps of others already running toward your goals. That's not paranoia, it's urgency. The world is filled with people hungry for the same dream. If you stay down too long, someone else takes your seat, your spot, your shot, and once it's gone, it's rarely offered again. The world rewards the relentless, not the perfect. It cheers for those who can keep up, not those waiting for permission to restart. When you fail, it feels like time should stop, like everything around you should freeze to acknowledge your effort, but it won't. The sun will rise, people will move on, and that sting in your chest will grow heavier if you don't act. This is your wake-up call. There is no safety net once you're in the real game. You either hustle forward through the pain or fall behind permanently. There's no soft landing. There's only movement, either with it or against it. Don't expect the world to hand you sympathy just because you fell. It doesn't hand out second chances. It demands that you fight for them. When you're down, it's easy to believe the world owes you something, but it doesn't. It only offers one thing, a path forward. You just have to be fast enough, strong enough, and bold enough to take it before it's gone. Criticism and doubt don't come when you're at the top. They come roaring when you fall. The moment you fail, the noise begins. People who once applauded you suddenly become silent. Those who stood beside you now step back, arms crossed, eyes watching. You'll hear whispers, see the subtle smirks, feel the distance grow. That's when you realize most people don't love your strength, they love your success. And the second that success fades, their loyalty fades with it. But that's not your downfall, that's your fuel. Doubt is a gift in disguise. Criticism is a mirror. When the world starts throwing opinions, assumptions, and labels at you, don't absorb them, use them. Because here's what no one tells you. Doubt is proof you're doing something they can't. People don't attack the weak. They ignore them. If they're talking about your failure, it means they saw your potential. They know you're capable, and that terrifies them. They point out your mistakes, not because you're finished, but because they fear what you might become if you rise again. Let them doubt, let them criticize, let every word sharpen your edge. Let every comment ignite a fire inside you that doesn't fade when the claps stop. Criticism can paralyze you if you let it, but it can also energize you if you choose. It's all about perspective. You can either be destroyed by opinions or you can use them to fuel your next level. When people say you're done, it's because they want you to believe it. When they laugh at your comeback, it's because deep down they sense you have one. Their doubt is not the end, it's a signal. It means you still matter. It means you still carry weight. It means you still make them uncomfortable. And discomfort is power. Don't try to silence the critics. Don't waste energy trying to change every doubter's mind. Let their words hang in the air. Let them echo in your quiet moments. Let them become the background music to your transformation. Because one day, when you return stronger, louder, and unshakable, their silence will be louder than their doubt ever was. They won't know what to say when you succeed without their permission. They won't understand how you rose when they counted you out. Remember this, your failure gave them a chance to speak, but your comeback will take their voice away. Let their criticism become the gravity that keeps you grounded and the pressure that shapes your rise. You don't need applause. You need resistance. You don't need sympathy. You need the sting of doubt to keep moving. Every word spoken against you is another brick you can use to build the foundation for your return. They may not believe in you now, but belief isn't what fuels greatness. Conviction is. Let them talk, let them watch, and let that silence one day become your loudest victory. Real growth doesn't happen when things go your way. It doesn't happen when you're applauded, rewarded, or praised. Real growth begins at your lowest moments, when everything seems to fall apart, when you question your worth, when the world seems too loud and your voice feels too small. Growth doesn't wait for comfort. It hides in the mess, in the chaos, in the dark corners where most people never want to go. When you fail and hit rock bottom, that's where transformation begins, not in theory, but in truth. You start peeling away the layers of who you thought you were and begin discovering who you truly are. There's a kind of power that only reveals itself when you're forced to rebuild. When your plans collapse, when the applause dies down, and when your identity is stripped of titles and trophies, that's where the real work begins. The pain you feel in those moments, that's not weakness. That's the stretching of your spirit, the expansion of your endurance, the sharpening of your mind. Growth isn't always seen, it's felt quietly, deeply, internally. It's in the early morning decisions to try again, in the silent battles no one will ever see, and in the grit to keep going when motivation is nowhere to be found. Most people want to grow without being broken. But that's not how greatness is built. Seeds only grow after they're buried, muscles only grow after they're torn, diamonds only form under pressure. The same rule applies to your life. Your failure is not a stopping point, it's a shaping ground. It teaches you humility, discipline, patience, and resilience, traits that success alone could never give you. You can fake confidence in victory, but you can't fake growth through pain. That's earned, not given. At your lowest, you're forced to look inward. You realize what actually matters. You learn who's real. You start making decisions from your soul, not your ego. And most importantly, you stop chasing perfection and start chasing purpose. It's in those moments of failure where your mindset is reprogrammed, your character is recalibrated, and your future is rewritten. You learn how to fight smarter, move quieter, and come back stronger. That's not just growth, it's evolution. When you're at the bottom, every inch forward becomes a victory. Every moment of progress becomes sacred, and in that space you stop fearing failure because you realize it's no longer your enemy, it's your teacher. The lowest points of your life are not the end of your story, but the birthplace of your reinvention. Growth that comes easy doesn't last, but the kind of growth forged in fire, that becomes unshakable. It becomes part of you, so when failure brings you low, don't fight the fall. Learn from it. That fall is the entry point to the best version of you you've never met. Failure isn't final unless you decide to stay down. It's not the fall that breaks you. It's the belief that you can't get back up. Too many people treat failure like it's the finish line, like it's some kind of permanent label. But failure doesn't stamp you with worthlessness. It invites you to respond. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't that one never failed. It's that one refused to be defined by it. You're not your mistake, you're your reaction to it. That's where your power lives, not in the perfection of your past, but in the perseverance of your present. The people who rise in life are not the ones who never stumble. They're the ones who trip, fall, scrape their knees, and still decide to stand. They understand that failure is part of the equation, not the exception to it. Every setback is just data, every defeat just feedback. It's your response that writes the real story. You can let failure close the book, or you can pick up the pen and write a new chapter. No one gets to decide that for you, not the critics, not the doubters, not even your past self. Only you hold that power. What most people forget is that failure is never really the enemy. It's your reaction that makes it destructive or constructive. You can sit in the pain and let it drown you, or you can stand on it and let it raise you. Because the truth is, the people who seem unbreakable were never the ones who avoided pain. They were the ones who walked through it and chose not to stay in it. They didn't wait for someone to rescue them from defeat. They rescued themselves. The moment you fall, the clock starts ticking. Not because you're running out of time, but because the world is watching to see what you're made of. Will you let one loss decide your value? Will you stay frozen in place because you're scared of failing again? Or will you rise with grit, with scars, with strength you never knew you had? You don't rise because it's easy. You rise because it's necessary. Growth demands movement, even when your legs shake and your confidence wavers. Especially then, failure will try to convince you that it owns you, that you'll never be who you were before. But that's the point. You're not meant to be who you were before. You're meant to become someone new, someone who knows what it feels like to fall and still fights, someone who has been through the fire and didn't run, someone who was broken and chose to rebuild anyway. Because staying down isn't just giving up on a dream, it's giving up on who you're becoming. The world may turn its back, your plans may fall apart, and your strength may feel gone, but as long as you're still willing to rise, failure can never be final. A comeback always starts with a decision to rise, not with applause, not with opportunity, not even with a plan. It starts in the silence, when no one believes in you, not even yourself, and you make the quiet, defiant decision that this is not how your story ends. That moment, that flicker of will, is more powerful than any external motivation, because you don't need the world to give you a second chance, you need to give yourself permission to fight again. Comebacks don't begin on a stage, they begin in the shadows. When you're at your lowest, you're most uncertain, you're most broken, and yet you say, "I'm not done." You don't need to know how you'll do it, you just need to decide that you will. That one internal shift flips the script. It changes your posture, it resets your vision, it reactivates a fire that failure tried to extinguish. The decision to rise doesn't erase pain, it embraces it. It says, "Yes, I failed. Yes, I fell hard, but I'm choosing to stand anyway." That decision becomes your starting line. And what begins as a whisper in your mind turns into a roar in your actions. Most people wait for something external, a sign, a rescue, a second shot, but the most legendary comebacks in history weren't handed over, they were taken. Taken through grit, taken through resilience, taken through the daily, invisible, often painful choice to move forward inch by inch, because comeback stories are never glamorous at the start. They're messy. They're filled with doubts, rejections, and loneliness. And yet, the decision to rise gives you a new identity, not just as someone who failed, but as someone who refused to stay down. It's in those early moments, when no one's cheering, when no opportunities are knocking, when your reflection barely looks like who you used to be, that you are rewriting your future. That single decision echoes louder than any words. It reshapes your mindset. It demands action. You start waking up with intention. You start showing up even when you don't feel like it. You begin rebuilding with whatever you've got: broken pieces, shattered confidence, shaky hands, and you lay the first brick. And then the next, and the next, not because you're sure of the outcome, but because you've decided the outcome will be different. You don't need to wait until you're strong to come back. You become strong because you come back. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide and readiness catches up. Everything starts from that one moment when you stop explaining your failure and start building your return. And the power of that decision can't be measured, because it doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you become. You go from victim to warrior, from stuck to unstoppable, from forgotten to undeniable, all because you made one choice: to rise when it would have been easier to stay down.